DIY biohacker space in North America, and I'm going to be working with a chemist friend who goes by the name Dr. N-butyllithium, and we're going to synthesize pyrimethamine, better known as Daraprim, better known as the drug that Martin Shkreli increased the price of in 2015.
From $18 a tablet jumping to $750 a tablet, up 4,000% in just 24 hours.
Everybody's doing it. In capitalism, you try to get the highest price that you can for a product.
This is a drug that is accessible to really any chemist. It's not something that only a pharmaceutical company can produce.
Daraprim actually doesn't need to be made from laboratory chemicals. You can actually do it from all these household chemicals. Drain cleaner and paint thinner and pool chlorine.
Should we make some sodium metal?
I'd love to. Okay. Build it out of paint thinner or out of a lab chemical, it's still going to be medicine. There's no magical property about these medicines, just the fact that they are arranged in a very scientific way to do exactly what they're supposed to do. There we go. Oh, there we go. That's it. There we go. Oh, that's awesome. There we go. That's so awesome.
It's great. This is the crude product, and then this is what it looks like after recrystallization.
Yeah, exactly.
It's amazing. How much does Daraprim cost as a pharmaceutical?
It was $13.50 before it was jacked up, and then after, $750 a pill.
And your pill would cost?
The raw cost would be $15 a pill, as we see here. This could easily be brought down even further. This could be an unpopular opinion, but I think Shkreli himself, he's just the face, okay, that everyone likes to put on this sort of evil, but really there are much deeper problems in the system than just him.
Price inflation is reaching into all corners of the drug market, even for some of the oldest treatments.
I remember sitting in the lobby of the doctor's office, and my parents were standing, talking with the doctor, and the doctor gave them the bad news that your daughter has diabetes, and she won't live to see 40. So that's what I grew up with.
Gail DeVore is one of 30 million Americans with diabetes. Like many of them, she takes insulin every day to live. Even though it's been around for a century, no modern generic form exists, and the prices for some of today's most popular insulin treatments have tripled in the last decade.
Figuring out how to pay for it, figuring out what bill you're not going to pay this month. It's a horrible situation to have to be in. And why we're forced to make those decisions is unacceptable.
Multiple patent protections on a single drug can deter generic manufacturers from making cheaper options, leaving people like Gail virtually helpless. This has empowered scientists working outside the pharmaceutical industry to devise alternative ways to produce insulin.
Counterculture Labs is a biohacker space. As you can see, we have a pretty well-equipped molecular biology lab here. India and China are doing pretty good jobs of producing local alternatives. And kind of shockingly, in America, because of the way the system works, there are a lot of people in America who don't have insulin, and some of them have very tragically died because of that.
Are there any diabetic people involved in this project?
There's me.
You're diabetic?
Yeah, I have type 1 diabetes.
Oh, wow.
I would prefer a nice, artisanal insulin to the, mass-produced store-bought stuff.
Soulless corporate insulin?
Yeah. In biotechnology, there are a few standard ways of making proteins. We have a strain of yeast that has been engineered to produce proinsulin, which is a precursor protein to insulin.
The thing is, the insulin by itself is not patented. The way you produce insulin, a lot of them are patented. So we have to find a strategy which is different enough that we don't infringe any patent.
How far away do you think you are from being at a point where you could use it to treat your diabetes?
Optimistically, that could be in 3 to 6 months.
So you're in the home stretch.
Yeah, we're getting down to it now.
The Open Insulin Project isn't alone. There's been a long fight to democratize medicine through alternative solutions. But the pharmaceutical landscape is vast, leaving patients with rare diseases particularly vulnerable to pharmaceutical price gouging. Without generic competition or regulations on prices, patients have few options but to pay if they want to survive. Jackie Trapp has multiple myeloma, a rare form of blood cancer. When she was diagnosed 3 years ago, a doctor estimated that she wouldn't live for more than 5 years. As part of her treatment, she takes a drug called Revlimid, which is shown to double the life expectancies of multiple myeloma patients, but the price of which has skyrocketed in recent years.
What is this?
This is all of the things that are related to my cancer. All of my hospital visits, the bone surveys. I've got the meds that I take in here and what happens with them so that I've got all the side effects. These are the insurance papers, the grants, all the things that I need to cobble together to get those copays taken care of. And that's just the new stuff. The first giant punch in the gut was, you've got cancer and it's terminal. And the second one was, you're gonna go through this bone marrow transplant. It's gonna be a horror. And it was, but I could get through that. And then the third was, you're gonna be on Revlimid, your maintenance therapy.
The sticker price for Revlimid has more than doubled in the last decade. Today, a single month's supply of 28 pills can cost as much as $22,000.
What else has gone up in that kind of dramatic increase in that short amount of time? My income certainly hasn't. You're gonna let me drive today?
I know, it's gonna be scary.
I've always been overinsured. We've always had a pretty big safety net. We've blown through that. We've blown through the bank accounts. They're pretty much empty. We had to refinance our house. We took a home equity line of credit. These are not small things to me. I was reading a thread in my Smart Patient Support group where a woman said, I can't do it anymore. I'm gonna go without my meds and die. And it wasn't about the disease, it was about the cost and all of the things that she had to do to get that medication.
Is there any alternative?
No, death. There's only one producer of Revlimid in the United States allowed, and that's Celgene. Some patients have toyed with the idea of getting Revlimid from India. There are some questions over whether or not it's as effective.
And if you were sure that you could get it from India or China and that it was pure, would you break the law to do that?
I would.
Most active pharmaceutical ingredients, or APIs, aren't actually produced in the United States, but in places with cheaper manufacturing. These APIs typically cost a small fraction of the brand name products, and a gray market has emerged where consumers can subvert the pharmaceutical establishment buying unapproved generics and pure APIs. And the center of drug manufacturing is in China, where 20% of the world's supply of APIs are made. I am at an API convention in Shanghai, China. These are active pharmaceutical ingredients. They're the drug inside the drug. And this is where all of the different factories convene to find buyers. This is so cool. Very good, yeah. Just have a laugh with me, 'cause you know I'm far away right now. He sounds already. Behind each of these technical names, there is a well-known pharmaceutical product. So sildenafil citrate is Viagra. Diazepam is the API in Valium. Lorazepam, brand name Ativan. This conference is full of these sorts of products. They don't seem like much, but they're the basis of the medications that are responsible for people staying alive in the 21st century. To find the true cost of Jackie's drug Revlimid, we needed to find a manufacturer of its API, lenalidomide. So I enlisted the help of an API buyer named Keone.
Let's say somebody wanted to purchase a kilogram of lenalidomide. I could locate the factory for them, run third-party independent testing, facilitate logistics. I think I could find any chemical that is currently produced in China without an issue.
Wow.
Within minutes of our asking, Keone was able to track down a bulk supplier of lenalidomide.
Hello?
Hi. Lenalidomide is patented.
Yes, I know it's patented. How much would it be per kilogram?
$2,400 USD.
Okay.
And I heard that you will pay a visit to our factory.
Do you want to go?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Keone's contact led us to a chemical plant south of Shanghai, where we were given a tour of the facility by representatives eager to sell inexpensive kilograms of pure lenalidomide.
We can supply chemical product to you. The price is very cheap.
Over tea, they offered me a 10-gram lenalidomide sample for analysis. I left the lenalidomide factory. They gave me 10 grams of the pure API as a gift. This quantity, offered as a free sample in China, would potentially cost cancer patients in the United States as much as $3 million at list price. Chemical analysis showed that not only was the sample lenalidomide, but its purity was comparable to the pharmaceutical product. It's not right to suggest that everybody get their drugs from China, but it's also not right to price gouge dying, desperate people. It's a really complicated situation, and I don't know what the answer is, but I think it's important that people understand that the chemicals themselves cost almost nothing. When we reached out to Celgene for an explanation of Revlimid's cost, they responded that the price was dictated by the value to patients, the healthcare system, and the overall cost of research and development. They also sent us a study, co-authored by a Celgene employee, stating that 90% of claims amount to $50 or less in out-of-pocket costs to patients. A more recent study by the Kaiser Family Foundation estimated that Medicare patients could expect to pay a median annual out-of-pocket cost of $11,500 for the drug. To better understand drug costs in general, I went straight to the industry's primary lobbying organization, known simply as pharma.
And so how does that happen? How does a drug become so expensive?
Well, there's a lot of factors that go into developing a medicine and ultimately what its price is. And I think the fact is that developing new treatments to fight diabetes or cancer or really tough diseases like Alzheimer's are really hard. It takes a very long time. It's very costly. And the odds of success are very low. 9 out of 10 medicines that go into clinical trials never make it to the market. And yet it's through that trial and error process that we're able to learn what it takes to ultimately develop a successful medicine to fight disease.
Right, but it's not just R&D. If it were only R&D, I think most people could stomach that. But then there's issues of marketing, advertising, and maybe even just unfair price hiking out of greed. And I think that's what really makes people uncomfortable.
Well, yeah, you're right. It's a number of factors that go into how medicine is ultimately priced. Looking at how many patients does it help, what kind of other healthcare costs can it offset, what types of how transformative is that medicine compared to other treatments on the marketplace. Ultimately, the price that's ultimately paid for a medicine is negotiated between very large, powerful purchasers and the company that made the medicine. And as a result, medicine cost growth is actually at its lowest rate in years. Which is surprising to a lot of people because it's much different than what you see in the news and read in the headlines every single day.
But if people are losing everything to pay for these treatments, it's putting a price on a human life, and no one's comfortable doing that. But that's sort of what it is at the end of the day.
We absolutely agree that we need to do more to make sure that patients can access and afford the treatments that they need. And unfortunately, what we've seen is a massive shift to ask the sickest patients to pay the greatest share of their healthcare costs. Where we've got the sick now subsidizing the healthy. The reason you have health insurance is so that when you get sick, if you need a medical procedure or a medicine, that it's there for you. You can get access to it. And too often, that's not the case, and we've got to address that.
I'm assuming buttered and panini'd. Okay.
Doug and I are the kind of couple, we've been together since high school. This will be our 30th anniversary this year. We always thought we'd be that couple that would grow really old together, and now we're just kind of old together. When our friends were out spending, we were saving, and it was all for later, and that's gone.
He's not bothering me because he knows.
But you, Softy,
knows where the meat and cheese is.
to leave him bankrupt on top of everything else, it's bad enough that we're not going to get that 50th anniversary.